The last two episodes of Game of Thrones.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll save that for the recording. There's the intro of Bloody Thumbs podcast, reviews and discussions of Game of Thrones. We got episode 3 and 4. If my memory holds me right, I believe yes, as 3 and 4.
Might be 4 and 5?
Or 4 and 5, yes. I'm way off there.
No problem. It's I mean, they kind of run together, and it's not like a kind of another show where they're kind of easy to discern from one another. It's one long book, so it just broken up into sections, and it's a little hard to tell. So fortunately, we got probably Wikipedia on here.
Yeah, I'm going to load this up here because my memory is not the best, so it's going to be a nice, smooth discussion here. We get a little nice little summary and refresher course. So we have, we're going to go ahead and talk about and discuss
Oathbreaker.
The Oathbreaker episode that we hadn't had a chance to review and discuss last week, and we're going to have like a nice doubleheader leading into the most recent episode that occurred yesterday. So the Oathbreaker, Book of the Stranger, not the Oathbreaker. We already reviewed that one. I'm way off today.
Oh wait, it's not. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm sorry, I was off on that one. Yeah,
yeah.
Book of the Stranger.
Book of the Stranger. So we had a couple of things go down as it always does at King's Landing. We had the great Sept of Balor, Septa Unella, enters Queen Marjorie's cell and leads her into a private meeting with the High Sparrow. So we had a nice meeting between her and the High Sparrow, and the High Sparrow asked her what she would do. What she would do if he allowed her to leave that day. And Marjorie replied that she wants to return to her family and her husband Tommen. The High Sparrow respects her love for her family, but tells her that attachment leads to sin. I freaking hate this guy. Citing his experience as a cobbler.
He is really, really good at walking that line of just like, okay, I can see the religious convictions leading to good things, but also just like, okay, you're just. The only thing like Marjorie really holds high in her life is family, and so looks like. Yeah, that just is like, oh, come on, you're not working. Also, Septa of Unella, I hate her. She is the nun from Blues Brothers, where she's just like, what was it like? Oh, damn it, I can't remember. She's like, listen to God, and then she kind of like scoots away like a horror movie, like demonic possession, just like flies back into the room. That's what I kind of expect from. Sept and Unella.
There we go. The High Sparrow gets into discussing his experience as a cobbler. Marjorie manages to impress the Sparrow with her knowledge of the Book of the Stranger, hence the title of this book. I guess it's she quoted the book, and she admits that Sept Unella had read it at her. High Sparrow chuckles and agrees that Unella just has a habit of reading at people instead of to them. The High Sparrow recounts how in his youth he was a womanizer and a drunkard. He underwent a conversion experience the following morning of an orgy and has his drunken guests lay naked all around his house, tired of what he is now perceiving as a meaningless existence. High Sparrow then turned his life around and became a devoted member of the Faith of the Seven. And he then left his job as a cobbler and devoted his life to the poor and the destitute. Believing he has found a way to reach Marjorie, the Sparrow allows her to visit her brother Loras, which is looking terrible in that cell. Yeah. Let me see, get a scene with that. He's lying on the floor of his cell and lost the will to continue resisting. But Marjorie tells him that he must stay strong, as he is the future of the House of Tyrell. Then Loras tells them that he only wants his imprisonment to end and pleads with her to help him. Marjorie tells Loras that the Sparrow is trying to use them to break each other, and again tells him to stay strong. At the Red Keep, Cersei walks into the Grandmaster Pycelle's, advising King Tommen to accommodate the High Sparrow and the Faith Militant. Cersei requests the Pycelle leave the room while talks to her son alone in the pretext of a meeting her son for updates about the previous small council meetings. During their conversation, Tommen proposes that the Iron Throne not antagonize the Sparrows further in order to avoid endangering Marjorie's life. Cersei then reminds her son that about the humiliation that she endured at the hands of the exploits. Tommen's love for Marjorie. She convinces her son that the High Sparrow has no respect for kings, queens, and society. Tommen then reveals the secret that the High Sparrow shared with him. Armed with this new information, Cersei barges into the small council between Kevin Lannister, Olenna Tyrell, and Jaime Lannister.
Come on, it's George R. It's impossible not to see some of these names and just say like, oh, it's like Kevin and not Kevon.
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 Cersei convinces them to listen to her as she informs the council that the High Sparrow has planned to make Marjorie do the Walk of Atonement, as we saw previous season before.
Shame.
It's just shame. Shame. Olenna's horrified at the Sparrow's plan to debase her granddaughter. Jaime then urges the council to allow the Tyrells to march their army into King's Landing and crush the Faith Militant and bring Marjorie and Loras back to the Red Keep into Crown custody. Kevin says that Tommen expressly forbid him to use the Lannister army. He commands at the city to make a move against the Great Sept, for fear that the Faith Militant will harm Marjorie in retaliation. Jaime suggests that Olenna send House of Tyrell's armies in the city instead, and points out to his uncle that Tommen only forbid his army from making a move, but he never expressly told him to prevent anyone else from trying. So Kevin wouldn't be breaking any commands if his forces simply stand down when the Tyrell army arrives. The Tyrell army will surround the Great Sept, intimidating the Sparrows and releasing Marjorie and Loras without any actual blood being shed. And by the time Tommen finds out what they've done, he will already be happy with the outcome. Kevin's interest is now turned, but he still expresses reluctance should they fail. Cersei is able to make him change his mind by exploiting his hatred towards the High Sparrows for taking his last remaining son and heir, Lancel Lannister. Olenna agrees that blood will be shed no matter what they do at this point, so it's better if the Sparrows' blood and not theirs. There we go. So they're planning some. They got some plans going here to hopefully bust them out and at last get rid of these freaking High Sparrows that have been bugging me for the last couple of episodes already.
Well, I mean, you know, Game of Thrones, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, it does.
So the stakes are high, and they have no choice at this point, because since the Tyrells don't want Marjorie to take the walk of shame, so it'll be very much a dishonor, embarrassment.
It's gonna be that, but also kind of depending on what happens in the next episode that connects to the Tyrells. I am wondering, like, if they're gonna reach a point just like, listen, we either gotta do this or this, which is, you know, save Marjorie's life, or, you know, save her from embarrassment and humiliation. I mean, it's very, very interesting, and it's obviously like, okay, something's about to go very, very wrong. And, you know, Tommen, who, of course, oh, sweet Tommen, he's just like, dude, you just got a really bad hand that you were dealt. And, you know, he's saying, like, listen, we don't want to antagonize them. They're going to, you know, cause a problem. They're not doing anything right now that's too vehemently activist-like in terms of, like, overthrowing the government. They said that they're going to do it, but they're pretty much doing nothing except keeping the queen in imprisonment and not abusing her. Just, oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, they are. They, you know, depriving her of, you know, a bed and such. And there's like I guess a qualification of like, okay, they were chosen by Cersei to act as kind of the moral enforcers, and so there is an interesting question of like, how in the world is this going to end? And I feel like it's only going to end in one way, in blood. So there's probably going to be a big battle to save Marjorie from these people.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Game of Thrones way, and nothing ever ends in diplomacy at this point.
No. Oh, God, no.
Diplomacy doesn't work. So we get back to the wall. A very interesting scene we had here. I didn't expect to happen. Honestly, we talked about this in the last discussion we had. I surely thought that Sansa and Jon wouldn't reunite for a while or miss each other at some point. And even if they did, well, what would they go from here? So we had this scene as Jon Snow is ready to pack up his things and playing some Euro pop in the background. Ed scolds Jon for leaving the Night's Watch, and after taking an oath, to which Jon replies that he gave his life for the Night's Watch.
This fucking commercial keeps popping up. Go away!
What you queuing up, CH?
It's the advertisement for the Fallout 4 DLC.
Nice.
Shut up! I don't care.
I need to finish Fallout 4 because I lost interest in the middle of the campaign.
Oh yeah.
But Jon replies that he gave his life for the Night's Watch and he can't trust his brothers, as he should. All these Night's Watchmen, you can't trust them. No matter what oath they took or whatever they ended up doing to get to the wall, they're still bastards, depending on who you're talking to. And we had the arrival of travelers. We had Sansa Stark, the Brienne of Tarth, and Podrick Payne right through the gates.
The one moment of happiness.
The one moment of happiness this season. And they dismount in the courtyard. And Jon rushes out and sees Sansa for the first time since the Stark left Winterfell for King's Landing. And they embrace each other. And then later that night they converse and reminisce on their childhood. Sansa promises that they take Winterfell back from Ramsay Bolton. But Jon says he's done fighting, especially after hanging Ollie. I don't know why you... Ollie killed your girlfriend and then he killed you. I don't understand.
Well, it's I guess it's like the principal, because once again, Jon is really the only guy with principles who's in a leadership position at all, who has a problem with killing children.
All right, fair enough. So Davos asks Melisandre if she'll stay at Castle Black, and she replies she'll do as Jon Snow, the prince that was promised, commands. Davos asks what happened to Stannis, and she replies that he was defeated in the battle.
Mm-hmm. And what I love is that Melisandre seems to she doesn't really have a waiting period. She just decide maybe Jon is the new Lord of Light disciple, or maybe he's not. She just goes Stannis is dead? Okay, this guy came back, so I'm going to follow him.
Yeah, certainly gets swayed very easily depending on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what her deal is. I mean, she had a conflict of belief at one point, and didn't necessarily think that her powers were strong enough to bring a person back to life, which we had got to see from the last episode, Oathbreaker. That was the case, that she was able to do it. Much like the Brotherhoods without banners, it is possible. What we had here. So the conversation was interrupted by Brienne, who recognizes Davos and Melisandre as Stannis' former entourage, still bitter over the death of the King Renly Baratheon. Brienne warns Melisandre that she does not forget or forgive, and she also tells them that she had executed Stannis after he admitted using blood magic to assassinate Renly. So, would you consider this official that Stannis is dead?
No.
No?
I mean, it's until if they stick with this story, and then the final credits of the final episode come up, then I'll believe Stannis is truly dead, and that they just had his death off screen.
It's just weird that it happened like that. It obviously, we'll get into more discussions with the most recent episode. They're not necessarily too shy about not showing death in this show. It just seems so off and inconsistent if they just decided not to kill off a character off screen, which is like really not necessarily like how the show functions. And it's kind of like the formula at this point, like a staple.
You get the fuck. Okay. Oh, a captivating cast of characters. Okay, go right to hell. All right.
That commercial knows what he's talking about.
It's a commercial for, I think, a Carnival cruise.
Nice.
And I don't want to get diarrhea or die of dysentery, so I wanted to mute that. But yeah, continue.
I thought about taking a cruise at one point. Then a whole lot of stories started coming out, like a lot of the horror stories of the cruise crashing into somewhere, or a cruise having like bathroom problems, and everyone just like shitting in the halls. It was insane.
Yeah, I mean, and people were being like locked into locked into their cabins and being treated like corralled and treated like animals.
It certainly turned me off after that. That was not that long ago. Yeah, so I guess it's just one of those things where at some point this may come back into fruition again until we get an official ending of the show. I wouldn't necessarily rule out yet that Stannis is dead.
And maybe even like after the show ends, there's a director's cut that just shows like Stannis like getting a coffee or something and laying low,
going into a diner with a beard and everything, just like Walter White.
he writes the 60 in bacon.
Yes. Oh man.
I don't believe it until it's superhero logic. It's just like, listen, if you don't see a body, they're not dead.
Yeah. So we'll have to see, as a lot of things that we've discussed. It's not out of the fruit. It's not out of the fruit of relatively. It's not out of the realm of disbelief. So we'll have to see. So sometime later, Jon receives a letter from Ramsay Bolton stating that he has Rickon Stark, as we saw in the last episode. His son of a bitch gets lucky every time. Everything just keeps falling on his lap. And I wouldn't necessarily say he's a super mastermind. He's just a bastard that is unrelentless and just happens to get lucky a lot of the times.
And he the luckiest character in Game of Thrones, of course, is the absolute worst character that we all hate.
Absolutely. So he receives the letter saying that he has Rickon Stark at Winterfell, and if Sansa is not returned, he'll slaughter every wildling at Castle Black, let his men rape Sansa, and feed Jon and Rickon to his dogs. And there's this whole long, disgusting, disturbing threat in this letter.
Yeah, it's Ted Bundy, not like if you don't do this, then I will kill your men and take your sister and have them rape. It's like it's the ramblings of a madman who like didn't know how to write a letter. So he's just like I don't even think there's like an end of a sentence. It's just like one long sentence. They just keep reading.
And Tormund says that he's got 2,000 able fighters, far less than the estimated 5,000 Ramsay has, according to Sansa. Mm-hmm. And they have to retake their home and rescue their brother, and that the houses of the North will unite behind Jon as the son of the true Warden of the North. Jon resolves to take Ramsay down after some hesitation, because they're clearly a little bit outnumbered at this point, so they're going to need to possibly recruit some folks into this cause to take back the north of Winterfell over there.
They don't have enough wildlings, and they certainly don't have enough crows on the wall.
Hell no. It looks like there's like 30 guys over there for every shot we get.
You know, sometimes they scale it down and like try to make the set seem bigger, and like, oh no, they're just off in the background, and just like you only see 15 people. It's like, no, there's only 15 people here. Well,
one little side note here that we got: a lot of people have been getting all getting all excited like there's there's gonna be this new romance kicking in. Well, all we had was just all we had is just like a staring contest with like Tormund and Brienne, like her looking uncomfortable because he was looking her down, checking her out.
I thought you were talking about something else, which was disturbing, and I'll actually talk about that another, I think, for the next episode.
Okay.
But that was pretty darn funny. I like the fact that, Brienne, who's not normally known for men appreciating her for her visage, finally has, like, when Tormund sees her the first time, like, she's on top of the horse, and she looks right at him, and he looks like he was, like, struck by an arrow. It's like, oh, be still, my heart.
Shot through the heart.
And you're too late. Brienne's riding a kick-ass horse. And he's like, wow, a warrior woman? That, take me away. That's my kind of lady. And so he, like, tries to make eyes at her as he's, like, viciously eating a turkey leg. And everyone just, like, awkwardly looking at each other. It's brilliant.
Yeah, this show has some pretty funny, awkward moments, just like that. Mm. It's very still early to say if anything will come of this. It's just one of those things where I saw a lot of videos and discussions regarding this. Like this new power couple is like they just met. Calm down. let it sparkle. Let it sprout.
Yeah, I mean it's funny just from like the introductory infatuation of like Tormund, who's like only known as this warrior, to finally actually have a soft side, or what his version of a soft side is, and it just very, very interesting to also give Brienne something that she's not exactly comfortable with.
I like it because a lot of her backstory and discussions about her past is just all the so sad because like she was just very much different than I guess your typical normal fair maiden, because she was just very tall drinking water, and she's very much not necessarily ones that go out to necessarily see her much as a more of attractive woman, but more of like she's more of a fighter.
She's an Amazonian.
Amazonian woman. That's the best way to say.
Not like
a female stormtrooper.
Yes, exactly. She was so tired of the sexist behavior in Winterfell, she joined the First Order.
That's right. So we had that where we're possibly going to have a showdown of all showdowns. We got Jon Snow versus Ramsay Bolton. Could this be the end of Ramsay? Could we finally see him get a knife in his throat?
Ooh, if only. There's also another party which might be involved.
That is true. As we transition over to the Vale, as you may know, the Vale of the home of Catelyn Stark's sister, as we saw her a couple of seasons ago get thrown off this pit by Peter Baelish.
Toss him down the hole.
He's got some plans going on. You never know what he's up to. He always seems like he's like 12 steps ahead. We get a scene of him at the Vale, and see the younger child of the previous queen
Robin.
of the Vale. Yeah, Robin Arryn, training at his archery and failing miserably.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
And everyone's a weenie.
Everyone's just like, okay, he rules these areas, so we just have to like smile and nod, like, yeah, you did a great job. And just like, oh God, how are we gonna train this kid?
He's almost there.
All the enemy has to do is lie on the ground or anywhere that's not the target, and they'll be hit.
Yeah, so we had that, and we had the Lord Jan Royce reminds Baelish that he told him that he was taking Sansa with them to the Fingers, but he received word that she had been married to Ramsay Bolton, and Baelish tells him that on the way to the Fingers, they were set upon by a large force of Bolton men. A confrontation ensues, in which Peter accuses Royce of giving away the information regarding the location of Sansa Stark and to House Bolton. I don't remember this. Did this even occur, or he's just making some shit up? Because I know that he willfully Yeah, he willfully left her over there with Ramsay. I don't know if it was intentionally to get her to possibly get her killed at some point, or it was just something to, I guess, toss kind of cut any loose ends to have her have any say over at the Vale, since she's kind of like the last living heir at this point for any relations to the former queen over there at the Vale.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what was going on there.
I think I have a sneaking suspicion that Peter Baelish is the Snape of this universe, where he is playing the long game, and he's just setting up all these little things so that it will eventually pay off in the long run, which I assume is when the White Walkers are finally coming, and he wants to unite all the different armies of men to actually be able to destroy the White Walkers. And the biggest problem is kind of the entrenched people who don't really address the problem. So, like the wildlings and the crows on the wall, they're fine because they know that winter is coming and the White Walkers are about to descend. The Boltons are a problem because they're just jack-offs and they don't believe in fighting the White Walkers, and they're also Wardens of the North. And he's just planting all these little seeds, and I feel that for Sansa, he genuinely, I don't know if he romantically loved her, or if it was just like he actually loved her mother and just like transferred some of that feelings towards her.
Yeah.
Or I think he genuinely feels that, but he is a guy who also sees the important bigger picture, and eventually wants to see it come to fruition. And so he sets Sansa in kind of the direct line of fire, but with the kind of political knowledge that Ramsay wouldn't kill her, or else there'd be hell to pay from the people of the North. And then from there, just say, like, oh, by the way, Robin, your cousin's being kidnapped. Like, we got to go save her, because Robin's, I guess he's inbred, or like some form of, like, arrested development, where he is just absolutely not mentally there.
Yeah.
And, just to take advantage of that and killing his mother and, like, finding all these little people that he can manipulate into doing what he thinks is overall the right thing.
So there's that. There's certainly a lot of manipulation going on, and certainly Robin isn't necessarily seems to be all there to really make much judgment here, or make a lot of doubts here regarding what he says. So
there's a point where he's like, "Oh, do you want to toss Lord Royce into the hole?" It's like, nah, I'm fine. It's like kind of just like very offhandedly. It's like, Oh God, and it's like, oh, then he can serve us very well. Oh, thank you God. And of course, this being Game of Thrones, I thought when Littlefinger brought Robin the Falcon, because he brings him a falcon as a gift, and I thought for a moment it was going to be like, okay, this falcon's either going to get killed in the scene, like Robin's going to strangle it, or he's going to accidentally shoot it because this is Game of Thrones and something horrifying has to happen. And it just turns out, no, it's fine. It's just like it's just sitting there in the cage.
Yeah. So there was that confrontation of this whole notion of pretty much Littlefinger has a lot of control, pretty much, of the Vale at this point, because he has a lot of control over Robin, with just him being necessarily not really a leadership type and doesn't seem to be all there. So they decide to muster the Vale Knights and just march to the north and aid Sansa.
Mm-hmm.
All conveniently, as we see in the previous scene, we had the agreement of Jon that they were going to go ahead and figure out a way to take back the wall. There's going to be some more reinforcements coming the way, and also just considering that a lot of the Vale Knights haven't really seen much action, because they were really pretty much far away from like a lot of any hostile areas. So it's going to be interesting to see how well they fare against Ramsay's army, since they haven't really seen much action since they're over there by the sea.
Yeah, and once again, I think it's a problem with the budget for the show, because it's kind of hard to tell sometimes, unless they explicitly say anything, how many soldiers there actually are. And
Right.
he's like, "Oh, okay. So is the Vale as many as the Bolton army? Are they less? Will they be as much when they join the Wildlings? If they join the Wildlings, if on a attack on two fronts, I don't know."
Yeah. So we go ahead and transition over to the north real quick. We got Winterfell as Asha is brought before Ramsay, who says that while her fellow captive Rickon Stark has a value to Ramsay, he is unsure of her worth. So Asha denounces the Starks, saying that her servitude and the loyalty to them were forced. She also attempts to seduce Ramsay, climbing onto his lap and kissing him, all the while trying to get the knife. He had to be using to peel apples. Ramsay seemingly falls for it, saying that it took too much longer for him to get Theon Greyjoy over to this side, but Theon had told him everything, including how Asha seduced Theon in order to help Rickon and Bran escape Winterfell. Asha realizes that she has been lured into a trap and tries to stab Ramsay, only for him to stab her in the throat, and she dies shortly thereafter. Therefore, another death on the Game of Thrones clock today.
Yep.
We check one off.
Take a drink.
Oh no, not anymore. I ain't doing that again. I've been there already. I tell you, if I was doing that drinking game in this recent last episode, I'd be dead. Ch.
Oh yeah, we got to get to that one, but first getting through this one where Asha. It's interesting that she was a side character who I thought was actually going to be playing a much bigger part, and then just turned out, she kind of just dies in this episode.
Well, she certainly had her larger role than we had expected her to have about a season or two ago, and she helped
Brandon Rickon escape.
Yeah, Brandon Rickon escape from Theon back when he was all mad with power at the time. So very unfortunate that she ended up meeting her demise. It would have been nice to see her kill Ramsay, but it
would have been very nice.
It would have been very satisfying, but he's too up in the game. A couple steps ahead of her. Didn't fall for her tricks because she shows so easily succumb to him, as it necessarily takes a little while for it to happen, much like Theon ended up breaking him. So back at the Iron Islands, Theon Greyjoy returns home to Pike, where he learns the death of his father, Balon Greyjoy, as we saw him get thrown over the bridge. Just so conveniently out there in the rain to get his ass killed.
Yep, that's Game of Thrones for you. Just like the last thing you expect. Damn it! What the hell?
What was that? What is it? What?
I swear to God, I keep turning off the volume and it keeps coming back on. I got the pages open to the Game of Thrones Wikia episodes, and then at the top it's just like, oh, here's another commercial, and here's another commercial. By the way, we're going to randomly turn the volume back on.
You gotta get the Ad Block Plus, man.
I'm too cheap.
It's free.
Well, then I'm going to get it, because I ain't doing this anymore.
So we had that Ash Dash, Dust to Dust Asha. So Theon returned over to the Iron Islands. Yara is unhappy for him to return and his refusal to leave the Dreadford, when she made an attempt to rescue Theon at Ramsay Bolton's estate. Theon explains that Ramsay broke him into 1,000 pieces, which Yara indirectly affirms by mentioning the box containing Theon's penis that she and Balon Greyjoy received. Not necessarily the gift you want to receive.
No, it's not like it's not the Christmas card you were expecting.
No, not at all. Yara then suspects that Theon has come back to declare himself the king of the Iron Islands, but he insists that he does not want the crown. Instead wishing for Yara to rule, with him helping her in any way that he can. We get back to Meereen as Tyrion Lannister, and along with Grey Worm and Missandei and Varys, meet with representatives of the good masters of Astapor, the wise masters of Yunkai, and the slave trading city of Volantis, who have arrived by sea. As a diplomatic mission enters the harbor, Grey Worm advocates using military force. When Tyrion explains that he's able to empathize with the slaves because he spent one day as a slave, Missandei counters that he has not experienced slavery. The emissaries are Tyrion's former slave master, Yazan Zo Kagaz. As I try to pronounce this, the Yonkai Wise Master, Razdal Moraz, and Valentin.
Just call them the slave masters.
Yeah, call them the slave masters. I have a hard time reading these.
Yeah.
In the meeting chambers, Yazan marvels at how Tyrion went from being a nearly worthless slave to the de facto ruler of Mirian. Slave trading cities offered to give Daenerys and her mercenaries a large pot of money if they sail away from Slaver's Bay. When Missandei defends Daenerys' actions in liberating slaves, Razdal contends that slavery has existed for centuries. After hearing their offer, Tyrion proposes counteroffer. He offers to give them a 7-year grace period to phase out slavery and compensate slave owners. However, they must end all backing of the Sons of the Harpy, regardless of whether they admit this backing or not. He then cautions them that they will not get a better offer than this. Tyrion then gives them time to consider this offer, though Grey Worm and Missandei insist on abolishing slavery. Tyrion and his entourage are later confronted by a crowd of former slaves in the Marine throne room. Freedman demands to know what Daenerys will return, while others applied at the idea of Tyrion negotiating with slave traders. Tyrion insists that he's doing the best to rule the city in Daenerys' absence. The freedmen do not trust Tyrion, a foreigner and a newcomer, and look to Grey Worm and Missandei for reassurance. Despite their misgivings, they both publicly back Tyrion's diplomacy in front of the freedmen. In private, Grey Worm and Missandei warn Tyrion that the Masters will outmaneuver him, and despite his best efforts to do the same to them. So there was like a counter offer there, and also a peace offering with some ladies.
Yeah,
the Tyrion way, the way to get this done.
It's like, hey, babes, bring everybody to the table, man.
And we go back to the vast Dothraki as Jorah Mormont and Eric Bana Jr. try to rescue Daenerys from the clutches of the Dothraki. And we had some interesting discussions here as they try to sneak in, and as Jorah tells Eric Bana Jr. to not kill anybody with a knife or else they get suspicious. He ends up stabbing someone with a knife and then bashes their head in with a rock, so that kind of counteracts anything that he did with the stab wound, as a kind of maybe like a scuttle that went too far that will throw him off if anyone discovers the body.
I was thinking about this, so are you? It's strange because they have wine, and they have jugs of I guess of liquor, and so can't you theoretically kill somebody by stabbing them to death with a shard of glass? It's possible. Not that impossible to think about.
That's true. I guess there was something there. I guess to throw him off a little bit necessarily. I guess throw him off to the scent of intruders by having a stab wound in one of the guy's chests.
Isn't it just a little bit more suspicious that this guy's head was completely smashed in and not just he was hit once and he was hit once enough in the head to be killed? It's okay, it's like saying, oh no, I got a ding on this car. I know, I'll throw it over a cliff.
Yeah, that was
especially since I'm sorry, yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking that, especially since the action scene doesn't actually really lead up to anything, I was thinking okay, they kind of didn't really need this in there.
Right. I mean, it was just kind of like a little extra scene, I guess, to kind of set up the plan that Daenerys had for the calls in the tent. So there was some kind of back and forth going on as she declares that she's going to lead pretty much all the Dothrakis to kind of take back I guess King's Landing, and they're very much in the side of no women have much say, and no women have much control of anything. They're very much
right. They can choose where to raid, and that's it.
Pretty much, they're just kind of like not necessarily have a sole purpose. They're just kind of like out for themselves, and she states that they're kind of mindless and weak men, and so this all leads to her unfazed by any of the threats as she knocks down the braziers in the hut, setting everything aflame as everybody apparently they're afraid of fire.
Yeah, it's like fire bad.
It's like caveman. Fire out.
It's like they have all this fire going on. They didn't have like a plan B in case like fire tipped over.
In there, like I guess is that sand flammable or something? I don't. That's like a terrible setup they got going on over here.
We camp on the sand of gas.
As they try to escape the hut, we see that it is blocked off by Jorah and Eric Bana Jr. as they set the whole place on fire, and as everyone gathers to the flames hut, you see Daenerys coming out of the fire unscathed, as she's proven once before back in season 1 or 2 when that fire broke out and the dragons showed up. As she stands into the fire and emerges naked and unburned, with the entire leadership present at Vast Dothraki dead. Many of the assembled bow immediately, with the High Priestess and the rest of the Dash Khali following. After a moment, Jorah and Daario move to the front of the crowd and bow last, as we get the final shots of this episode with Daenerys naked, staring out in the distance in the fire behind her. We end this episode, Book of the Stranger.
Yeah. Is it just me, or does every single solution to Daenerys' problems are indiscriminately murder people, disrespect cultures and histories she doesn't agree with, and then just end every sentence with, because I'm the mother of dragons, or because I'm the queen, or shut up.
That does seem a lot of her strategies that do happen a lot. That's why I'm kind of very much on the opposite sides with her a lot of the time. She's just very persistent, which I can understand, but also like there's not much, like even with what's going on in the Marine, like even though that shit's bad with a lot of the slavery, it's just kind of been like ingrained in the culture. It's just like it's really hard to change overnight. Like she's just forcefully making these changes real rapidly, which is why like a lot of this backlash is going on over where with the Sons of the Harpies and everything getting funded by like these higher
countries,
higher countries with like some big pockets.
Yeah, because this is their economy. Like I don't think Daenerys does not really understand that. It's like you need workers, and free labor is really helpful for that, even though it's humanly wrong to do. But you can't change things overnight, and what Tyrion suggested is actually a much smarter plan, regardless of whether or not it turns out to be a fool's errand. Where it's like, okay, we'll phase it out. We'll gradually, it should be like, okay, to not abuse slaves anymore, or sexually or physically. And eventually we'll compensate you for the slaves, and then we will be done, and we'll evolve into a new culture.
Yeah, that plan seems a lot more logical than just willfully killing everybody that doesn't agree with you. It seems like a little bit like contradictory to the whole reason you're even at.
She's a villain
right now. Yeah.
I mean, she has the best of intentions, and I feel for her for a lot of cases. But there's just things that she did not need to do, and she did them anyway. Like, for instance, locking the Dothraki leadership in there with her. And by the way, just like I know she's not, I know she's fireproof, but she's not hut-proof. Like they're like huge like wooden like beams that could have fell on top of her and killed her, and
Mhm.
that would just make her look like an idiot. Like, oh, she was the mother of dragons, and she died from a from this column that fell over, and it's just like she could have just like set fire to the entire hut, let them leave, and just like let them escape, and she stayed there, and then she would walk out unscathed, and their power would pretty much be like, dude, you guys have been running things, but she can walk through fire, so I'm gonna go with her as being kind of the divine inspiration source, and you guys can not worry about that because she doesn't really know how to compromise well enough.
No, a lot of stuff doesn't go her way. A lot of it ends in violence. I don't even think convincing them, putting like a lit fire under her and her not burning, probably wouldn't even been enough. It probably would have cut her head off, thinking she was like a witch. So that probably wouldn't have worked.
Well, I mean, if they saw her walk through fire, why didn't they do that when the entire hut burned down with all the leadership?
Very true. Like it was a little bit far fetched for me that she took matters into her own hands rather than other people doing it for her or the dragons getting involved in any way. So
No, and
there's
she also
that.
takes the most violent course of action, which
Yeah.
is like they were ready to leave. Jorah and Eric Bana Jr. were just like, listen, we got to go. Eric Bana Jr.'s got to film Ang Lee's second Hulk film, and and she was just like, oh, and there's like, listen, we got time, we got opportunity, let's get out of here. And she's like, no, I need to make a statement. It's like, listen, if you come in riding a dragon, you will make enough statement. Trust me, they'll just say like, wow, that is a dragon. Let's get this. She's fireproof and has a dragon. Let's go with her.
That's
She
good
goes
enough for
out
me.
of her way to kill people.
Yeah, especially like especially the main calls, the great value calls, as I like to call them. They're not necessarily the brand name ones like Khal Drogo was. They're the great value
They're generic.
calls.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're the generic brand.
exactly.
It's like
But yeah,
it's like not Honey Nut Cheerios, but like delicious O's of honey. And instead of a bee, it's like a butterfly that's yellow. It's like a monarch butterfly. It's just like it's almost the same thing.
right. But nevertheless, I would give this episode a pretty decent rating.
Yeah.
The episode we're going to be talking about right in the next recently that came out yesterday, the last episode, I got to say this is probably like the highlight so far of the season.
Oh,
Some shit
absolutely.
went down, and it's like this is all leading up to higher stakes kicking into full gear right now. But yeah, this episode was yeah, very interesting. There's a couple of interesting spots, a lot of potential of what we could expect soon, especially with the next new episode. Hopefully, we get to see more of kind of what they're going to be doing to take back Marjorie and Loras the next episode. So we have like a a beneficial alliance going on with the Tyrells and the Lannisters now, because they're pretty much up against a wall at this point. They don't necessarily like each other, but they got to work together in order to get something done against these High Sparrows and the Faith
Mhm.
Militant over at King's Landing.
They're all part of the old establishment, and they pretty much the High Sparrow outright said like, yeah, we're going to overthrow you the second we have the opportunity.
Yeah, so there's that. That was a interesting little spot. We had that, and a very surprising reuniting of Jon and Sansa, and possible discussions and collaborations of taking back the Winterfell. So there's that to look forward to, and
I really like how much they showed Sansa has grown up with and even Jon admitting like, yeah, okay, I was kind of a moody emo douche, when I was with you guys, but I apologize too. It was nice, like even though Jon had far less to complain about, like he was still, of course, being the good guy, just like, listen, like I forgive you, it's all right, things happen. It just It's like, Jon, you're such a good guy. That's why I have to believe that something really bad is about to happen to you.
No.
It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Yeah, so that was primarily my main highlights for this episode. Yeah, I was like half and half on this last couple minutes with the whole burning of the tent thing. So I mean, pretty much it's more of a staple now that I'm glad that she's kind of out of it at this point and seeing where else she can go from here. And she's got more of an army now. She's got the Unsullied now, and she's got more of the Dothrakis going on her side now. So as we lead into this the episode, we're going to be seeing what more can happen with them.
She's 2 bad days away from being Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, she's in there.
I mean, because I'm just waiting for her to put like tell everyone to oh, we should wear all the same uniforms, and to make sure that nobody thinks of race or sex above anyone else. Like we'll all wear the same ones, helmets included, and just like the stormtroopers. And she's just like, good, use your aggressive feelings, boy.
Do it.
Do it. I would like to see all the edited scenes of Emperor Palpatine just re-edited with Amelia Clark trying her best impression of Ian McDiarmid in those films.
I'll pay top dollar for that.
Oh, I'm afraid the reactor shield will be quite operational when your friends arrive. Oh man, and I just it's setting up a lot of interesting things, solidifying a lot more interesting relationships, and I think this is the turning point where the build-up of these previous episodes are finally starting to come to fruition.
Yeah, that is very true, and especially with this recent new episode called The Door. The 5th episode of
this might be worse than the Red Wedding for me.
Yeah, thinking about it now, it as much as horrid as that was, this one it hit me straight. It's hit me straight in the heart.
Yeah,
it's more than I even thought that it would happen, as I thought that this character was impenetrable due to his likability and just simpleness.
You thought like the 2 immortal characters were this one and Daenerys.
Yeah, that's like just kind of where I'm thinking right now, because if they killed Daenerys off, it'll just kind of halfly ruin a lot of the setup and point of Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
she's the only real representative of like traveling around the East, of like all the without her, there's a lot of less political intrigue and maneuvering. Whereas in the West, like there's a lot of different in Westeros. There's a lot of different characters who cover different grounds, like the Boltons, the Lannisters. You have Jon Snow on the Wall. Right. Everybody, the Vale, and like really the only representatives are in Meereen or Daenerys.
Absolutely. So we bleed into, quite frankly, probably right now the highlight of the season, as we were mentioning.
I would say so.
All building up to this, and it can only really go higher up from there now. It was a kind of a little bit of a slow burn leading up to this episode, which is made it all the worth waiting to get to this climactic, heartbreaking, tension-filled episode. So we'll kind of try to keep this in order. Hopefully, this Wikipedia does keep it in relatively order, because I think it was a little bit off in terms of the order we saw things in the last discussion we had. But nevertheless, we'll move forward on here. And out of nowhere, we're back at the wall, and Sansa receives a message from the bearing the sigil of the House Baelish, asking her to a meeting in Molestown, accompanied by Brienne. Apparently, that was a different location. I thought it was at the wall.
I thought it was at the Vale.
I was like, how the hell did you get there so fast?
It's like, man, just Sansa must have been really, working on. She's got like her CrossFits on, because she must have ran like, was it like 100 miles in like 2 minutes?
It was insane. Like I was just like out of my scope right there. It's like, where the hell are they? I thought they were at the wall or something, and he got there quick.
Yeah,
So
they could have
apparently it was at
established that
different.
better.
Yeah, apparently they're at a different location in Molestown. I need to look at the book,
Mhm.
the map, to see how far this is, but it's
It should have been like a
relatively.
Tolkien novel where every viewer is given a map.
Yeah, I think they have like something like that for like the HBO Go app. You can actually like see the map of where the hell they are compared to like where the other characters are. Something like that.
Mm.
Castle Black Pin. Uh, so roughly one of the few villages located in the Gift, the strip of land immediately south of the wall, which is under the jurisdiction of the Night's Watch. So it's like roughly like 2 miles south of Castle Black. So that's what I see here in Wikipedia. Thank you, Wikipedia. So, yeah, Sansa angry meets Peter Baelish asking if he was aware of what Ramsay Bolton was capable of. Baelish deflects, saying he has the Knights of the Vale waiting at Molt Cailin to aid Sansa. She is mistrustful of him, which when he claims that he had no idea Ramsay's abusive treatment of her, which I doubt. She doubts Baelish's ability to protect her, or even himself, threatening to have Brienne kill him. He says he'll do whatever she asks, and Sansa tells him to leave and never come back for her. He obeys, but not before informing that her great uncle Brendan Tully has recaptured Riverrun, and recommending she seek him out and the remaining loyal Tully forces. Sansa says she's already has an army, and her brother Jon Snow's army of wildlings. Half
I'm
brother.
sorry. Can I pause?
Yes.
I mixed up the Tullys and the Tyrells.
Did you?
In the last in the recap of like last episode, I was thinking like, the Tyrells are going to try to save Marjorie, but aren't they marching to Winterfell? It's like, oh wait a minute, no, I'm sorry, that was really wrong. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. There's so many damn families in this damn show.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to keep up, but I'm sure those who are listening at home are kind of got where you're at so far, because I know that there was something mentioned like that. I just kind of went with it, but I got where you're going with that. So pretty much Sansa says she already has an army with her brother Jon Snow, and he mentions half brother as she corrects her and as he walks away. So that was that little confrontation. So Castle Black War Council is called and is attended by Sansa, Brienne, Jon, Davos, and Melisandre, Tormund, and Ed. They call him Edison in here, but I'm gonna call him Ed.
Yeah, you gotta call him Ed, because he really is like the most normal out of all of them. Especially with how they end his story in this episode. He's not dead, just like this particular story of this episode with him.
Yeah, that was a little funny on that one.
Mm-hmm.
They discussed the need for more men, and Davos mentions the House Manderley. Sansa mentions the Riverlands army, but lies to Jon about how where she got the information, and sends Brienne south to secure her the troops. So there's that.
And like I can't. There was something about Sansa, I think, lying to Jon about how she knew about the Riverrun takeover, and it made me wonder why.
That I'm still unsure of as well. That one left me a little bit some head scratching there. I need to rewatch that episode to see if there's some small things that I missed there. Not sure the implications of this untruthworthy mention of this. So we'd have to find out if it gets anything more deeper than this.
Mm-hmm.
So she's kind of pretty much wanting to send Brienne south to secure her the troops. Brienne a little bit untrustworthy with some of the people there, besides like Jon and everybody else, and he mentions like I think Tormund a little bit about how she was like he was staring at her.
He tries to give her like a come hither sexy look, and it just completely fails. He just looks like one of the fatter guys on American Pickers.
Yeah.
Oh no, Duck Dynasty. I'm sorry, with the big old beards. And Brienne just like, I don't. How do I make him stop looking at me like this?
um, yeah, there was that, and I don't know that this even goes into Beyond the Wall.
No, it's just them leaving for it.
Yeah, there was them leaving for that, and I didn't even mention the scene with Ed in here about like him not wanting, him still not getting accustomed to being called the Lord Commander, as he was just kind of thrown upon him because he was like the only one that actually like wanted to stay there and was more committed to continue his work on the Night's Watch rather than Jon being very discouraged because he can't really trust anybody at this point with everything that went down.
Yeah, and it's like he just realized that like he's Lord Commander now because like they leave the gate and like one of the newbies come on over him and say like, "Oh, do you want me to close the gate, Lord Commander?" It's like, "I'm not the Lord Commander," and then he just like looks around. Everyone's looking at him. He's like, "Oh shit, I'm the Lord Commander now." Yeah, what the hell? Close the bloody gate.
And we go back to the Dothraki Sea as Daenerys is unsure what to do with Jorah. Having banished him twice, with him returning twice, saving her life twice, Jorah finally confesses his love for Daenerys, but also reveals his spreading grayscale infection, which I'm saying, get some of that Vaseline, bro. And says that this time he needs to leave for good. He starts to leave and states his plan to take his own life when this grayscale envelops him. But Daenerys tearfully commands him to find a cure and come back to her side when she conquers Westeros. A seemingly impossible task, which I don't know how he would go from there. Jorah then departs while Daenerys and Eric Bana Jr. lead the Dothraki horde back to Meereen. Very interesting scene there. We got a little bit more of a little bit more back and forth between Daenerys and Jorah, since they had a little bit of a they were at odds ends due to him kind of going behind her back with kind of giving some information back over at King's Landing not so long ago. Some of that spying information, and led to her feeling betrayed and couldn't trust him anymore and banishing him a bunch of times. There's that. I'm necessarily very curious to see if we'll get to follow Jorah some more to see if he finds a cure for his grayscale. And from the way they've been discussing it seems like it's an impossible task that he may not come back from.
It doesn't look like there's gonna. I don't think there's probably gonna be hope for him. He's either gonna be like either cutting off his arm or he's gonna go grayscale and then go crazy, or this is Game of Thrones. I just don't have a lot of hope. If it turns out that he's fine, then hey, that's good for him.
Yeah,
but
yeah, he's one of the more interesting, kind of likable characters. He's got some sympathetic traits about him. Even though he tries to do everything right, and it just kind of seems like it's all goes wrong a little bit for him, a little bit there. If only he was a couple years younger, he may be able to get Daenerys at some point.
Yeah, he also tries to keep telling Daenerys that he loves her, and just like, okay, she told you the first time, it's not going to happen. It's like she knows, you've told her, it's all right to just let things be as they are, and then just not try to. I mean, come on, it's Eric Bana. She's still going to go with Eric Bana.
Well, that's very true. More than likely. Nevertheless, it's still very sad to have him go off of on the journey that may lead to nowhere to find a cure for his grayscale. But nevertheless, we move on to Braavos as Arya continues her daredevil training. With the Wolf continues to drill Arya, mocking her highborn origins, as Jaqen explains that the Faceless Men were slaves in Valyria before establishing the free city of Braavos and the House of Black and White, handling Arya a vial Jaqen tells her an actress, Lady Crane, will be the next to receive the many-faced god's gift. Arya enjoys the spectacle of the actors reenacting the War of the Five Kings and then playing the Baratheons and Lannisters, but her pleasure ceases when her father and his execution are inaccurately portrayed as Arya sneaks into the dressing room to observe her targets. Mm-hmm. The actress playing Cersei, who appears to be clever, decent woman, Arya later shares with Jaqen her plan to poison Lady Crane's rum, which no one else is in the troop drinks. Arya suspects that a jealous younger actress, Bianca, has commissioned the kill. Jaqen cuts her off, reminding her servant does not question. And then we get like before even this gets mentioned, we just get like a out of nowhere shot of a guy's junk, checking that he has warts on it.
Warty on it. It's not like there have been like tasteful nude shots where of like mostly of like total nude shots of women in this show, even if it's not like used for sexually provocative stuff. This one is just like an angle. It's almost like the Spike Lee tilted angle. It's like staring right at this guy's junk with like two big old warts on it. It's like, this is not the best transitional piece. And then like you see the topless actress, talking about how she only got 2 lines. Like, oh yeah, I forgot which show I'm watching.
It turned into a whole new show at some point. It felt unreal.
Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, this is why. It's like, listen, when there are people who say they want to see more male nudity, this might not be the actual thing they want to see. Like, warty junk, this is what y'all want to see, right? Like, swing and a miss. But
it was like a weirdly edited transition to this. Like, it just fell out of place.
Yeah.
It was. I know that it was.
Because the establishing shot was the junk. It wasn't even just like, oh, here's the dressing room. They're all getting changed and like in their civilian clothes, and it's like, oh, by the way, here's this thing, and then junk. It's just like, here's junk.
It wasn't necessarily even that. It's just kind of the way it transitioned to this scene of this reenactment of like what was going on, and also just it all turned sour, just making Ed Stark look like a buffoon.
It was weird, but also watching the play and seeing that they kind of got everyone's story wrong. I kind of didn't really sympathize with Arya. It's like, listen, this is public perception of what happened. And that's all these people know. Because like they don't know the private lives of everybody who went on the war. They don't know why Ned Stark did what he did, and he wasn't after the throne, but he was just loyal and to a fault. Like, for instance, Tyrion, he didn't just like rape Sansa. He wanted to marry her to save her from Joffrey. And it was just this weird sort of amalgamation of different things of like of wrong perceptions. And what's even worse, that like Arya was laughing at King Baratheon, being farting on stage and like like drinking wine and like being gored by a boar, and just like, you have no right to like get upset at these people. Like, you were doing the same exact thing.
Very true. Very true. At least they got that part right. You did get mauled by a boar and ended up dying because of it. So that was partly right there. Mm. Yeah, it was a very very interesting little tidbit of a scene there, and it kind of leads into, I guess, her comeback mission to hopefully not screw up again and continue her work with the Faceless Gods. Mm-hmm. As the last time she went through her first mission, ended up killing one of the guards out of revenge.
Yeah, and the weird thing about this scene was the young actress who she thinks that was jealous and maybe put the hit on it. I didn't get that feeling at all.
Yeah, that was a little off too. I wasn't necessarily feeling.
I was distracted, of course, by the fact she was topless. But it's like she could have like revealed like, oh, by the way, in season 7, this. I'll be like, yeah, huh? Mm-hmm. Yep, totally. No, I get it.
That may have been.
Ned Stark comes back as a robot. Yeah.
That may have been a part of the distraction as well.
They got a shell game going on of breasts.
I see what they're doing.
And, yeah.
There's that. We'll have to. I guess we're gonna see the more completion of this contract. Sounds like a Hitman mission to me.
Yeah.
So
That'd be awesome if Arya showed up in the next episode with shaved head, tattoo, a barcode tattoo in the back of her neck, and with the red suit and the silver ballers.
That'd be cool.
Oh man, just make David Lynch direct that action scene. Let's hit all the bases for how good this would be.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and so it's she sees the actress who played Cersei with her, I guess, her dwarfish lover, and just I guess they're planning a family, although they just said that they were lovers. It's just so which one is it? Are you guys just starting to sleep together? Are you getting married? Are you having children? Just I was a little bit confused at that point.
Yeah, I was confused for the last couple minutes of that.
I was more confused that we got the tilted angle of the penis, so just right in the camera's face. Just listen, I don't want to see this up close shot of a woman's genitals. Just do something a little bit different.
It threw me off. It certainly did.
Maybe that was directed by David Lynch. Ooh, I'm there was a really important information in the background, but you didn't notice because the junk.
It was interpretation, symbolism of the what's next to come.
There was I'm sorry. Where were we?
Well, we were in Bravos. We're transitioning over to Marine. So we had a couple things go down here as they enjoy the Tenoyas. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. They enjoy their relatively temporary peace. Tyrion reminds them of the need to convince the Myronese that everything has been done with Daenerys' blessing, as the Masters could use Tyrion and Varys' foreign status against them to reclaim Slaver's Bay. To that end, Tyrion invites Kinvara, a high priestess of the Red Temple of Volantis.
For another red lady.
Another red lady who seems to know what she's talking about. To negotiate spreading the word of Daenerys' accomplishments. To Tyrion's surprise, Kinvara appears to be highly accommodating and supporting Tyrion's goals, as she firmly believes that Daenerys is the prince that was promised, as we've gotten a lot of that recently. A lot of princes have been promised.
Yes, they have, and they've been going through them like tissue.
Yeah.
And, what I love about the scene is that, I like the fact that Varys speaks out, although the fact that they still kind of obviously need her doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I like the fact that they get into sort of Varys's. It wasn't. I would like it to have been a lot more subtle, where because Varys just says listen, I don't believe in your fanaticism, because he suffered at the hands of people who took spirituality, fanaticism, and religion too far, for him anyway, because he was made into a eunuch, and the Red Lady here says mentions. Details that he told nobody about when he was actually castrated, and this was the first time that Varys is taken back. He doesn't have a good comeback for this one.
Yeah, that was a very good scene here where she just mentions a couple of things that, just like I mentioned, it's never been really brought up with anybody, and just kind of freaks him out that I guess there's some skepticism that he had that it may have been kind of that kindled at that point, that she had so much information about him, and for once we actually see him just kind of speechless and not much to say regarding that. Then she assures Tyrion that she will send the preachers and priests best suited to the task at hand in order to assist him on his mission, spreading the word of Daenerys' accomplishments. To hopefully get people the fight, the cause, just like Mass Effect 3. You gotta get some war assets.
Oh man, that would be awesome if just like a giant Reaper touched down near the Dothraki, and, and they just like keep throwing spears. Like, come on, we'll get them eventually.
Good God.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite Slaver's Bay on the entire Easteros.
We have that. So that was an interesting little scene there. I like how we get little splices of a couple of things going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
As the Iron Islands, as we reach back to the Iron Islands, Yara Greyjoy is first to lay claim to the Salt Throne. Yara argues...
So salty.
Very salty. Yara argues that raiding the mainland is not enough for their people and that they need to use military force to teach the mainlanders a lesson. An Ironborn man challenges Yara's candidacy on the grounds that she is a woman and points out that her brother Theon Greyjoy has returned. Theon endorses his older sister and urges the gathering to do the same, stressing that she is a warrior, reaver, and an Ironborn, and then many chart Yara to be their queen. I'd tell you, this scene was very interesting too, because like a lot of the people hanging out here for the Iron Islands folk, they're all so easily swayed. They go from one person to the other.
I mean, I was kind of half expecting somebody to stand up like, I've got a bag of popcorn, make him our king.
I know, it's so crazy. Like everyone, there's like a lot of back and forth when when Euron Greyjoy came in to gather his claim. Everyone was just like going back and forth. It reminded me of like, I think there was a scene in like that Robin Hood movie, that Mel Brooks movie, where everyone was like going on to the one side or the other. They couldn't make up their minds.
There have been plenty of times where, or just like, it's like almost the reverse of Monty Python's and the Holy Grail, where they find the woman and they try to make her look like a witch, where everybody tries to convince themselves that they're the king, and they don't all have good points, because there comes a point where Yara is told, it's like, I'm going to build a mighty fleet, and the person, that's the second part of the episode, where the person who comes up and says, like, oh, you're going to build the mightiest fleet? I thought he was going to say something along the lines of we live on freaking islands. What trees do we have to cut down to make to make boats? It's like, we need to trade. We don't have the resources. We don't have the time. And I just thought it was going to be like a reality check. It's like, nope, they're not going to say that. They're just going to go like, because I'm better.
Because I am the king.
Yeah, that comes to probably the second highlight of this episode.
There was a whole pretty much back and forth between who was going to lay claim to the throne, and then Yara accuses Euron of killing their father, and to her surprise, he admits it. Then defends his actions on the grounds that Balon was a
it's like, I'm the only one who killed a king in this damn show that actually admitted it.
He's a crazy motherfucker.
And
is leading them to defeat in the north. And then when Euron states that his only regret is not killing Balon years earlier, he is met by resounding cheers from the crowd.
Well, at least somebody's admitted that they killed a king, and then try to go like, oh, who knows? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. It was our enemies. It's like, nope, I did it.
Yeah, I respect his honesty.
Yep.
Then Theon counters that Euron has spent years gallivanting overseas while Yara was commanding Ironborn ships and men.
Gallivanting? Can you say that with no cock?
kept putting him down because he's got no cock.
It's like, dude, like, find another joke. Like, you need some better material. And also, what I thought was, it could have been a much more interesting moment. I thought if he actually came in with good points, but he was also crazy. If he just went over to Theon and was like, listen, it's like, you have no cock, and everyone laughs like, no, that's not a joke. You can't have children. So we're going to come back here and you have even a more conflicted, crazy Kingsmoot. Because we're going to have like 3 generations who are going to lay claim to the king. and you can't even have kids. So who's going to be the next in line of succession? And I thought that would have been a much more interesting point than just going, "Ha, you have no wiener."
That's very much what it ended up going to. In response to that, Euron announces that he also supports expanding the Ironborn fleet, revealing a trick up his sleeve. He then proposes to marry Daenerys Targaryen and then carry her army and dragons back to the Westeros. The Ironborn support Euron's plan and declare him king. The drowned men priest Aeron Greyjoy then leads Euron down to the sea to be baptized. What a terrible way to be baptized. Pretty much get drowned, and for the sake of for luck, you come out of throwing up water and getting some air in your lungs. It doesn't seem very smart. Like, I'm sure a lot of people, at least one or two people, have at least died during this weird ass baptism that goes on here for this ceremony. During the ceremony, Yara, Theon, and many other loyalists flee the Iron Islands, taking the best Iron Fleet with them. During the baptism, Euron falls unconscious but is revived on the shore. Shortly after, he's crowned the Driftwood crown by the brother Aeron. After leaving that, his niece and nephew have fled in the best Ironborn ships, and then Euron calls his followers to build their own ships. So that this part had me laughing because pretty much they all left while they were doing this ceremony, and they pretty much took all the ships. And then this guy is like, "Don't worry, we're gonna build these ships and get their freaking asses and kill them." I was like, dude, this guy easily take you like 2 years to build. what kind of machines you got working over here?
And once again, your island has no fucking trees.
How the hell are you going to do this?
Are you going to make ships out of rocks? He has to be crazy, because there's like, are you going to make ships out of water? Are you going to lash together some water to build the ship? I mean, it makes no sense.
I'm very curious on how they're going to do this. I feel like you're going to be building like 10 times the ships they lost in like one episode. I need a good explanation on this.
I would absolutely love it if it was just like the next episode. They don't explain why, but he has 1,000 ships. Like no problems. Like, suddenly ships.
Oh my goodness.
That would be terrific.
It was a good scene in a very weird way how it ended, and I'm very excited to see how the hell he accomplished this task of getting anywhere near to getting them back for this travesty and so-called betrayal and oath breaking, just at the cost of building these ships. It looked like they got like 10 dudes with them.
Yeah. it was just so funny. Just like they're running out to the rowboats, there's maybe 25 men, and then when they're leaving, they've got like 120 boats out there. Just like, who the hell is piloting those?
It's insane. Had me laughing so much.
I was kind of expecting them to have like tugboats and just like tug the other boats behind them. It's like, nope, it's actually it's actually just like all those 25 guys.
Crazy. So we go back to Beyond the Wall as the Three-Eyed Raven shows Bran a vision of the Heart Tree amid spirals of standing stones in lush green valley. He, SB's Leaf and other children of the forest talking among themselves, then looking eagerly at a captive bound to the tree. The Leaf approaches and forces a dragonglass dagger into the captive's chest. Mm-hmm. The captive screams but does not die, rather his eyes turn depthless, icy blue. So we get like an origins of the White Walkers here. Not necessarily, I guess, for the reasons of protecting themselves from men. And I'm still trying to remember, where the hell did these Leaf for the Children come from? They just showed up this season, or I don't remember if they were on...
It was the end of last season, I think, who led them to the old man in the tree.
Okay, so I need to rewatch that to remember a little bit. So we get a origin of the White Walkers as they were created in the first place, as the Leaf. Leaf tries to explain that they were at war with the First Men and they were desperate. Later, Bran is the only one in the cave awake and is anxious to warg back into the Weirwood tree after being unable to wake up to the Three-Eyed Raven. Bran wargs into the tree by himself and sees the army of the dead as he slowly walks through the army. This is pretty much like these like skeletons and zombies, like just like freaking Skyrim, as we'll see later on in this episode. He sees 4 White Walkers, including the Night's King. The Night's King is able to see him and turns the army around to face him, and Bran turns around to find the Night's King right behind him, and the Night's King grabs his arm, which causes Bran to exit the vision. And the Three-Eyed Raven tells Bran that since the Night's King touched him, he now knows where they are, and they're able to enter the cave since Bran now has his mark. The Three-Eyed Raven tells Bran, Mira, and Hodor that they must leave, and that even though Bran is not ready, it is time for Bran to take his place. The Three-Eyed Raven then sends them both into a vision, where shortly after the army of the dead arrive, appears outside the cave. The Night's King destroys the magic that guarded the cave against the army and starts marching towards the cave. This is just an insane scene we get here. Just all these, pretty much all the knights and the White Walkers coming to the cave, and just all hell breaks loose. They go through this magic fire barrier, which everybody else was unable to get to, besides like these 4 horsemen guys. And they end up climbing on top of the Weirwood and dropping through the top of the cave. Mira desperately tries to get Bran out of the vision and attempts to get frightened Hodor to carry Bran away, to no avail. And then Mira kills the first White Walker that enters, which is pretty badass.
She just chucks a spear at it, and then it just blows up.
I don't know if she has some Valerian or something on there.
I think like everyone should have stopped, like even the White Walkers, and just been like, "The hell was that?"
That would have been funny. It's like, how did that happen?
It's like you don't have a sword. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, it would have been a funny scene. Like everyone just like watched in confusion and amazement, just like that scene in Kung Pao where he just punches the guy in the stomach. He sees his intestines come out.
Hodor even just goes, "What the hell?"
So after that happens, the children of the forest light a fire around the entrance to prevent the Whites from entering, and then they end up climbing on top of the Weirwood, dropping down the top of the cave. I think I already reread that. And then they try to fend off the Whites until the Bran wakes up. The Whites began to swarm the cave, which is, there's like so many of them just going through this small ass cave, which is insane. On how well the special effects were on this one. Is like you start seeing some of the skeletons too, as their body, the rest of the remaining chunks of the bodies are burnt off.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just that they had the really good CG, and I thought they had really great CG for the last season when they had the big attack on the wildling camp, and because like it's the skeleton warriors too, and you can see through their rib cages, like to the other side. So it's not just like they're using clothes to kind of cover the fact that they don't have to show skeletons on the other side so they can save on the CG budget. It's like, no, they actually scrimped and paid for, top quality animation there.
Yeah, it was really impressive. Like, this is like the most interesting, well done effects I've seen on the show so far. I love seeing that, like, just really getting into the fantasy element of just skeletons chasing you down. That scared the crap out of me. I had a lot of those jump scares in Skyrim. You're finding a lot of those skeletons.
Man, they don't go down like those skeletons, though.
Not at all. So we get to, as Mira starts yelling at Bran to warg into Hodor in the vision. Bran is Winterfell watching Ned Stark say goodbye to his father, Rickard Stark, before being sent to the Vale as a ward. While still in the vision, Bran hears Mira's cries to warg into Hodor, and the Three-Eyed Raven tells him to listen to her. And Bragg wargs into both the Hodor in the cave, present day, and then Hodor in his vision in the past. And then we get pretty much like a backstory on how Hodor became how he is now. So it was more like it was a very surreal. Like it was like it seemed like it was destiny. Like he had a lot to do with like changing the past in the future. Just how he ended up. Because you saw him in flashbacks. He seemed like like a normal kid, and then he ended up having like the seizure in front of everybody. And then this is where we get to the main highlight of the season in this episode, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hodor in the cave picks up Bran's body as he has become possessed by Bran, and then starts running towards starts running into the exit.
Summer.
Yes. Oh,
My
shit.
sweet summer is gone.
We have like one. We have like one left. I think. Was it Jon Snow's direwolf is like the last one left at this point, I think.
Arya's, I think, is like out in the wilderness.
Oh yeah, that's like missing. We don't know where it's at this point. Summer, the direwolf ends up staying back to defend Bran and to fight off a lot of these skeletons and zombies, and just unfortunately ends up meeting its demise as you see them all just gallop on the direwolf, just stabbing it to death. You see like 20 or 30 of them just all gathered and just like all overwhelmed the poor innocent direwolf as it meets its demise.
I forgot that the direwolf was actually in the scene with them, and so there's this one White Walker that's charging against I think it's Bran, and then like out of left frame, Summer just like body tackles it out of frame, and it goes out of frame, into frame, out of frame, and I was like, what the hell was that? Because I completely forgot it was there, and then the dog does like a charge against the White Walkers, even though A, they're not slowing down, and B, there wasn't really any reason.
Right. Well, I guess it was more of an instinctual thing, I guess, to slow them down.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's that. Fortunately, Summer's killed in an attempt to buy them some more time. As the Whites are closing in on them, Leaf sacrificed herself. Just one of the other like leaf or green looking creatures there that pretty much created the White Walkers. But prior to that, they were like throwing like these fireballs that are like extremely effective. She ends up sacrificing herself and causing a huge explosion to kill a good chunk of these Whites and buying them more time. So as the Night King enters the room of the cave, the three-eyed raven is in there, and then he starts approaching his body, which is still warded into the weirwood. The young Hodor in the vision begins to have a seizure, and the three-eyed raven tells Bran that he must leave him now. As the Night King kills the three-eyed raven, his appearance in the vision shatters and blows away Mira, Hodor, and Bran, and as they exit the door at the back of the cave, and Mira takes a sled with Bran's body and tells Hodor to hold the door, as we get that to buy them more time to escape. As Mira continues to yell, "Hold the door," the young Hodor in Bran's vision starts repeating the same sentence in the midst of the seizure. Eventually, "Hold the door" stutters into "Hodor." Oh my god. And this reveals how Hodor got his name, as Mira is escaping from the scene with Bran's body. Poor Hodor meets his demise after seemingly holding back the Wise long enough for them to escape. And this is how we end the episode. God damn, CH. This had me crying. I literally shed tears.
My throat dropped into my heart. Just seeing him being torn up and realizing... I don't know. I think the implication is that Bran realized that because, the old man was telling him, listen, what happened in the past has to happen, and it will always happen, that he chose to make Hodor into Hodor because that's what needed to happen. Yeah. And I don't know... And there's, been a discussion of, whether or not Bran just warged into Hodor and then made him hold up the door and then just left him there to die, or if it was Hodor's choice to hold the door, and whether or not he realized that that was a sacrifice he had to make. And I guess it might be a little bit easier to find out in the book, because we're going to be able to hear, see their thoughts and read them. But with this one, it was just a little bit uncertain. But the effect of that ending, where it's a very innocent character, who the most innocent character in this entire show, where he is just this big lovable guy who had the absolute worst luck of being what time traveling was needed for, and just there, and he's being his clothes are being ripped up, he's getting chunks of his skin just like cut open. And he's he's there and just so sad. He's like, oh my God, what are you doing? Don't kill him. Run, Hodor.
I don't know if I got a good look at his eyes, but you do see a difference when he gets worked into. But I think by the end of that, it seemed like he wasn't in control anymore by Bran. So it seemed like he was staying at his own volition, realizing that it had to be. It had to be done, and he was pretty, very loyal servant to Bran. I'd have to rewatch that episode, even as much as it pains me to see that part. It was a very solid episode, CH. I gotta say that all this kind of like easy, slow-paced, kind of slow trot that kind of led into this episode was like very much hit the nail right in the heart, especially at that scene, and just a lot of other things stacking on top of each other, leading into a lot more at stake, and a lot more things that can certainly happen in the next episodes to come.